Hi everyone, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I cover oily skin, hooded eyes, and beauty. So welcome back to my eye primer wars. Today's episode 3, and if you're watching this in the future, I will link all the videos down below for you. So I will be testing out 10 drugstore eye primers for your hooded eyes, and for each of these primers, I do want to see how well they work when set with a powder, and then how well they work without it. So let's go ahead and get into eye primer number 3, the Revlon Colorstay Eyeshadow Primer. So this claims to be a lightweight eyeshadow primer that creates a smooth, crease-proof base for makeup and locks eyeshadow in place for up to 24 hours. I tested this product out for 2 days, and day 1 is my first impression, so let's roll the tape. Today's day 1 and I have absolutely nothing on my eyelid, so let's go ahead and get into the eye primer. So I'm only going to be putting primer on the right side and no primer on the left side. I just want to compare the two to see just how well it works. So here's what the eye primer is looking like. It is a bit thick. And then smell test. I don't know what it smells like, but it doesn't smell too pretty. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this on my eye. So this feels very moisturizing. It does have like a little bit of an oily texture to it, but it seems like it's drying down pretty nicely. So here's what the primer side is looking like. I'm gonna go ahead and set it with my translucent powder. Okay, so that translucent powder layered down pretty nicely on top of the primer. So let's go ahead and get into the eyeshadows. I'm just gonna go ahead and pat on this eyeshadow on the eyelid. Now to get into the real test, blending in the crease. That is gliding on beautifully. Now let's go ahead and deepen up the outer thirds. Okay, so far this is looking so good. I don't see any patching, I don't see any tugging marks. Let me go ahead and do the rest of my makeup and then I can compare the two, so I'll be right back. Now that I'm back with the rest of my makeup, let's go and take a look at my eyes. Okay, so far the eyeshadow on both of my eyelids look pretty much the same when it comes to vibrancy. I don't really see a difference between the two, but the difference that I do see is the blendability. So the non-prime side just does not look good at all. And then the prime side looks really good, looks super buttery, smooth. It just looks like how I wanted it to. So let's go ahead and do a close-up so that way you guys can see. So here is the non-prime side. You can definitely see the patchiness and just nothing really blended that well together. You can see sharp lines. It just does not look very good. And then here is the prime side where everything looks like it blended out beautifully. I don't see any patchiness. I don't see any tugging. It looks really nice. It's been 10 hours, so let's take a look at my eyes. Let's just go ahead and get the non-prime side out of the way. My eyeshadow has completely come off of the eyelid. I do still have the eyeshadow in my creases, but really, that's about it. Now let's go over the prime side. So I'm looking at my mirror and I'm actually really surprised that this eyeshadow has completely stayed on my eyelid. Nothing has transferred, nothing has creased. I don't really see any patchiness or anything. This is looking really, really good. Now, mind you, I am in Texas and it is super hot, super humid here. So I was expecting kind of the worst and I really didn't get that at all with this eyeshadow primer. This is still looking just as fresh as it did when I put this on this morning. Okay, so here's the non-prime side. You can definitely see how there is pretty much no more eyeshadow left on the eyelid. I do still have it on the outer thirds, but just like this morning, it's just not looking that great. And here's the prime side. It is still looking so good. I don't see any creasing, any transferring. I think that this is still looking so good after a 10-hour wear. Today's day 2. I have absolutely nothing on my eyelids, so let's go ahead and give this another shot. Again, I'm only going to be putting this on the right eyelid, and we will not be setting it with a translucent setting powder this time. And if I haven't said this already, a little goes a long way. Now we're going straight into the eyeshadow and just patting this all over. Now let's go ahead and test the blending process. This is actually turning out really nice. So far, I'm impressed. Now let's deepen up the outer third. Okay, so far this is looking so good. Let me go ahead and do the rest of my makeup off camera and then we'll be right back to compare the two. Okay, so now that I'm done with the rest of my makeup, let's go ahead and take a look at my eyes. I was trying to go back and just kind of soften up the edges, but that wasn't really happening. Everything is just kind of stuck there now, so yeah. Let's go ahead and do a close-up so that way you guys can see everything. So here's the non-prime side. It's looking pretty good. And here's the prime side. I did notice just the slightest bit of tugging marks, but I don't think it's really that noticeable. And then of course you can see on the outer thirds, I just wasn't really able to smooth anything out. It's been 10 hours, so let's take a look at my eyes. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the non-prime side out of the way. My eyeshadow from my eyelid is completely gone, but I do still have the eyeshadow that is on my outer thirds. And I actually don't have any mascara prints on my eyelid, which is really weird. Let's go to the prime side. Okay, so I'm looking in the mirror here and I actually feel like this looks exactly the same as it did earlier this morning when I first put this on. I don't see any transfer. I don't see any patchiness. It's the exact same, like nothing really has changed or moved. It's really weird. And then I also don't have any mascara prints today, so that's weird. Let's go ahead and do a close-up so that way you guys can see everything. So here is the non-prime side, and like I said, all of my eyeshadow is completely gone from my eyelid, and then of course I do still have the eyeshadow on my outer thirds. And here's the prime side, and like I said, it looks exactly like how it did earlier today, and really nothing has faded. Okay guys, so y'all saw in the clips that this eyeshadow primer is really impressive. It does everything that it claims to do. It is super lightweight and it creates a nice smooth base for your eyeshadow. And not once did my eyeshadow crease, transfer, or fade. Now, I'm not exactly sure about the whole locking in eyeshadow for 24 hours, but I'm also not about to test it for that long. But this eye primer is so nice and it did wonders in this Texas humidity. And I'm telling you, it got up to like 108 degrees and the humidity I think was like under 50%. And you know, whenever you're on your weather app and you scroll all the way down, not only, you know, does it say the temperature of, you know, the weather, but it also says what it feels like. So it says that the temperature is 108 degrees, but it also says that it feels like 117 degrees. Yeah, this held up. Now, I do prefer this to be set with a setting powder. That is just my preference. It is definitely worth the $10.49 and it's hooded eye approved. This is definitely staying in my makeup collection. Now, I do have a question for you guys. Is vibrancy in your eye primer a must, even if you're gonna be doing the most basic, the most neutral eye look? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys so much. Bye.